Welcome to another edition of Diplomatic Channel. I am Amarachi Ubani. Our program this week is still focused on security, the rise in global terrorism. While we approach the end of the first quarter of the year, it's estimated that hundreds of young people from outside of Syria and Iraq have pledged to join ISIS and are joining. These young people are not the stereotype disturbed, rebellious teenagers who hate to do homework or obey their parents, or who pose as societal threats. They're young people who have lives, good grades in school, and as far as their parents know, have exhibited nothing but normal behavior. That's until the day they discover their kids have left home and joined ISIS. The reality is, terror groups such as ISIS have been painting a picture of bliss for young ones and are drawing disciples from around the world. Our discussion this week is with the former U.S. Ambassador to Nigeria, Robin Sanders. She speaks to our correspondents in Washington, D.C., about some misconceptions of the terrorism summit they held in the U.S., Nigeria's elections, and Boko Haram's widening threat. The program starts now with a quick check on other discussions in diplomatic circles. Authorities in Greece have begun evacuating thousands from migrant detention centers across the country following an inmate suicide in February. Police and social services in Greece's first dedicated detention center for illegal immigrants in Amygdalisa have been working to prepare hundreds for releases, starting with those who have filed for asylum. Dozens of migrants have already been freed through its gates, and an average of about 20 will continue to be released every day until the detention center is emptied. Then thousands of Italians supporting Italy's Northern League have demonstrated in Rome against immigration, the EU and Italy's Prime Minister Matteo Renzi's government. Matteo Salvini, the Northern League's leader, has accused Mr. Renzi of substituting Italy's interests for those of the EU's. He's also criticized the government's record in dealing with Romanian truck drivers, tax, banks and big businesses. And finally, Ukrainian photojournalist Serhiy Nikolaev has been killed by shelling in East Ukraine after artillery fire struck near the village of Pesky, northwest of the rebel-held city of Donetsk. Earlier, Ukraine's military said fighting had eased significantly in the east overnight, but reported Grad missile attacks on the government-held town of Avita, next to Pesky, which is home to one of Europe's largest coke plants. On Friday, Ukraine reported the first deaths among its servicemen in 3 days, underscoring the fragility of the truce meant to have taken effect on February 15th as government troops and rebels pulled back heavy weapons from the front line. Hundreds of young people are becoming sympathetic to the cause of the Islamic State all around the world. Analysts say it's because young people want to feel part of something special, to find something meaningful for their life. ISIS is lying to them that they can have that by joining its campaign against the West. While Western governments are trying to clamp down on migrations to that part of the world, it's becoming increasingly difficult to trace these people because they're taking on new identities as soon as they enter into Turkey en route to Syria. A reason why this is easy is because Turkey and Syria share a common border. And of course, you know about the civil war in Syria. But the real fear, however, is what terror these new ISIS recruits could be made to unleash. Hundreds of young people are joining ISIS, and they're not just coming from Arab countries. In recent months, the number of young people joining the terror group has steadily grown, and these young people are coming mainly from the West. The Islamic State is targeting not just men, but the women as well, who will become jihadi brides to the militants, and they're open to people in all professions. This kind of recruitment is done via social media and by placing material that can easily be found on the internet, painting a blissful picture about the jihadi movement. A recent case is that of the 3 missing girls from the UK, now believed to be in Syria. They had been contacted by 20-year-old Aksa Mahmoud, who went to Syria in 2013 to become a jihadi bride. Authorities said while in Syria, she used a Twitter account to encourage British women to join her in Syria. Their story is not much different from 6 young people who went missing in Canada. 4 of them were male and 2 were women. They were set to have left in mid-January. Authorities are worried over the radicalization of young people in the country and many are making their way into the country via Turkey, which shares a border with Syria, which has been fighting a civil war over the last 3 years. Turkish youth have also been recruiting into ISIS. The country's deputy prime minister says nearly 1,000 Turkish youth from across the country have already joined. Turkey's position as a route plied by recruits have caused international leaders to call for greater action to secure its border with Syria. Sadly, even Nigerian youth have not been spared. The federal government recently revealed that children of the rich studying abroad are also being radicalized and recruited into ISIS via social media and other sources.
We therefore call on parents and guardians, especially those whose boys are schooling abroad, to closely monitor the activities of these students who may be susceptible to the antics of the promoters of this strange, catastrophic ideology.
Analysts in the US say using social media, ISIS is trying to build a well-rounded society. While ISIS videos online appeal to issues important to young people, joining ISIS, however, means promoting the creation of an Islamic caliphate and getting rid of all the infidels in it. There are as many as 10,000 to 40,000 ISIS fighters, among them about 2,300 foreigners. And more worrisome is its spread. While groups such as Boko Haram and Al-Shabaab have been set to mimic the group's activities, ISIS is already in Africa. ISIS is set to be in control of 3 towns in Libya and is quickly advancing across the country, hence the killing of the 21 Egyptian Coptic Christians. The Director of Defense Intelligence Agency in the United States has warned that ISIS has affiliates in Algeria, Egypt and Libya, and is beginning to assemble a growing international footprint. Alarm on ISIS recruitment are coming in from the US, Canada, Australia and many European countries who are taking action to curb the migrations. Germany has announced a ban on activities supporting ISIS, and Britain is prosecuting at least 50 British citizens who have returned from Syria. Our discussion on global terror continues after the break as we sit down with the former U.S. ambassador to Nigeria, Robin Sanders, who shares her thoughts on this important issue and the threat of Boko Haram as well. Please stay with us.